James and I have met before, and I've interviewed James before, so I'm, of course, looking forward to this. And I have so many questions about what's going on in politics, and I feel like you're uniquely qualified to answer it. So let's just start with the Democrats. What do you think? What do you like? Who do you like? What do they think?
I think there's one moral imperative, and that is to get Trump out of there as fast as he can. And anything that is in furtherance of that moral imperative, I'm for.
But obviously, I mean, you want to get Trump out,
right.
And the best way to get Trump out, or the only way to get Trump out, is to get a Democrat in. And the question is do you go full, hard, sort of radical left Bernie Sanders? Do we move toward the center with Elizabeth Warren? Do we...
Right.
Well, I don't know where she is. I don't know if Elizabeth Warren... I don't know who she is. I don't know if she knows who she is.
There is an internal debate. And on one side of this debate, you have people that said the Democrats need to double down on their urban base. Mm-hmm. And that it's going. They need the college-educated, non-white, urbanists growing. And the party needs to have somebody to excite them. They'll come out and vote. You'll bring new voters out, all right? That's one side of the coin. People like me say, are you goddamn kidding me? 18% of the United States elects 52 senators. Where your urban base is going to go from there? What good does it do you to roll up a gazillion votes in Los Angeles County when 18% of the country is deciding the fate? And if you don't have the instinct and the political skill to be a majoritarian political party, then shame on you. And as long as this cultural smugness continues, this sort of we're smarter and better than you are, and understand, Trump could win and lose the popular vote by 6. For the Democrats to win the House, you got to win the popular vote by, ask Nate Cohn or David Wasserman, it's a lot. So you don't live, this is not a one-to-one democracy that you live in.
So if you had a magic wand, so it feels like the sort of divisive stuff and the race baiting and the gender and the sort of AOC ultra woke, no room for old white males and all that kind of stuff. It feels like you're pushing a lot of people out of your tent with that.
I'm not. Look, if you're, and there are people that feel this, that they want a revolution. If you read the Constitution of the Democratic Socialists of America, of which I did, and it talks about popular control of resources and production. I'm not for that. I'm a liberal. I'm for redistribution and tax code. I'm actually for some things that actually just give people money. I am not to have a vote on how many books we're going to publish in the United States. I think it's a bad idea.
What do you think about something like Yang and universal income?
I like that. I like baby bonds.
What would you, my thing with the universal income is, I was sort of skeptical because in general, I don't like giving people stuff, not because stuff is bad, it just tends to make people weak. I come from a welfare family. I've experienced it firsthand. You can't give people stuff. It screws them up.
It doesn't, you know what?
Yes,
research does not back you up.
Well, research, I lived it.
Okay.
My research is I lived in that house.
You may have lived in an individual place.
Who's it helped?
Okay.
Who's given free stuff helped?
First of all, the cure for a lack of money is money.
It's earning money.
Let me finish. All right? I'll give you an example. There's a thing called baby bonds, where if your parent or parents are below a certain income level, the federal government puts money in an account for you, and by the time you're 18 years old, it's $50,000. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
And you can spend it on, you can't go put it on black at the casino, but it's some kind of thing.
Let's not bring race into this.
Okay, I put it in red, I'm sorry. the Native Americans are going to say I wasn't raised in it.
No, I'm with you on this point.
I just think, and I don't have an issue with that. It's all these rich billionaires that they give money to foundations and schools and everything. You want to help people's lives? Open a freaking bank and lend them money at 5%.
I agree with
You know,
that.
I mean, I have a lady that works on it, she said, dental work, and it's like $3,000. I said, where are you getting the money? He said, I'm getting it from, I don't know, some place. I said, what's the answer? He said, 48%. I said, shit, let's go to the bank and I'll co-sign it for you and get the money at 5%. But when people are behind, they never catch up. They leave their whole life behind.
But you're not talking about giving people money. You're talking about a plan. You know what I mean? Yang is talking about just giving people money.
They have done any number of studies. I'm not totally against that. They did a big study in the Rift Valley in Kenya. There's another study coming out. And they're not dumb. They'll give a control group $500 a month, and they won't do anything with the other control group. And the people that got the money did a lot better. A lot better. And it's not welfare. It's not anything like that. It's just when you start behind the 8 ball, you can't get from behind the 8 ball. The most determinative thing in the outcome of anybody in this country, massively, is how well off your parents are. And I don't like that. I think.
Well, see, my thing with Yang, I had a couple thoughts on it. First is I didn't really like the free money idea, but then the notion that he wants to get the money from the tech companies who are already profiting off of you sounded like a reasonable idea. It sounded like a good idea. So if some entity is already essentially selling you and profiting from you, they're essentially TMZ. When you walk out of the airport, well, not you, but George Clooney walks out of the airport, they film him, they never pay George Clooney, and then they make a TV show and sell advertisements against it. So in my world, George Clooney should get paid. But
I know George, I don't feel sorry for him, but go ahead.
He landed on his feet.
Yeah, he did fine.
But what I'm saying is the notion that they're profiting off you and not compensating you, I like the notion of the tech companies compensating the people they're profiting off of, at least with their information. Now, and I like your idea of the baby bonds.
Okay.
I like the idea of Yang's universal income, but the money for families who make, well, first off, here's what I would do. For anyone who makes more than $250,000 a year, you don't get anything. That money will kick down to people that are under. For the people that are under and don't have health insurance, that money will go straight into health insurance, so you can't buy cotton candy and tattoos.
So, look, I'm for baby bonds. The universal income was Moynihan's idea, and it was Nixon. I think that's the origin of the whole thing. I think it's something that's worked. Again, anything that gives money to people that don't have money is going to help. Now, I'll tell you something I'm not for. I'm not for student loan forgiveness. I'm not for that.
Why not?
Well, I'll tell you why. First of all, oldest of 8 children. My sisters all deferred vacations, all saved for college. Their children worked in college. One of my nephews graduated from Harvard MBA after he finished LSU. Another one from Georgetown Law School. They didn't have any debt because their parents saved. So you're going to tell somebody, just going to walk in and say, you sucker, you did all of that, and just everybody's going to go from ground zero. Plus, you signed a contract. Now, if you want to be in Teach for America, you want to be in the Marine Corps, you want to be in something else, good. You want to teach a certain profession, or you're a doctor and you're going to practice medicine in rural Mississippi, yes. But not just blanket everybody. You screw what you signed. Your parents were dopes. You worked in college. You were a dope. And you should have just gone along with this. I don't like that at all.
Hold on. You had a relative that went to LSU? Wow. Mind blown. So, I agree. And did you see that dad who confronted Elizabeth Warren that's sort of saying, look, I saved up. I did the right thing. My neighbor bought sports cars. Why should you forgive him?
I think the guy has a good point, and I think if Hope Central Warren does well, stays in the race, instead of had a growth experience.
So who do you like on the Democratic side? Or let's give them a sort of power ranking.
Well, let's start. I'm mortified of a third party. Ralph Nader cost us the presidency. Jill Stein, who is very likely a Russian agent, cost us the presidency. Okay? Do me a favor. Somebody on a cell phone, Google General Flynn, Jill Stein, Putin photo. And then laugh at me after you see that. All right? But I'll tell you about that. All right? So that worries me to no end.
Is Jill Stein out or in?
Not now, but she was in 2016. She got more votes in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin than Hillary lost by. It was totally there.
So,
they never told you this.
So a third party is going to take votes away from the Democrats.
Well, a certain Nader will. Some, Russian finance Green Party will take enough, yes. And understand that's what goes on. So we fracture. And you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
Is there a third party that could take away Republican votes?
No.
Of any kind that you
Yeah,
can think of?
look, there's no Republican Party. Come on, man, that thing is Fini, El Morte. It's all Trump. Trumpism is the Republican Party. There's no free trade party. There's no kind of fiscal responsible party. There's not a party that respects the military, screams at the general. I know more than my generals. So you got kids with concussions saying, it's got a little headache. What the hell are you talking about? It's crazy.
Sounds like my football coaches from the 70s.
Yeah, shake it off.
Yeah,
shake it
got
off.
his belt
Get
wrong.
back in there. Yeah, right.
So, rub some dirt on it.
Yeah.
So if a third party candidate comes in, is that a death knell for the Democrats?
It depends on what the third party is. But everybody, when people tell me, particularly if I'm in here, their idea of a third party is someone who's fiscally conservative, but socially, I'm fine with the gays, and I'm fine with Roe, but that's not going to get you anything.
All right. So who do you like, or give me a ranking?
I like Michael Bennet. Why do I like Michael Bennet? Because I think that if we nominate the right person, we could pick up 55 Senate seats, and I think we could wipe Trumpism out.
So the person.
But I'm not. I like Joe Biden fine. I like I don't dislike Bernie personally, but I'm not. I think it's a disaster for us.
Do you think it's unwinnable if Bernie is the nominee?
Well, okay, this could happen. So Bernie's already instructed his staff to draw up executive orders how he can circumvent Congress. Bernie knows let's say we have the election. Bernie wins with 282 electoral votes. We lose one House seat, and we end up 53 where we were. We started, we down 53-47 in the Senate. Do you know what will change? Nothing. And do you know what will happen to these executive orders? They will go right to the courts. And then you know what's going to happen? They're going to come out of the woodwork and saying you tried all this, and then we get wiped out in 2022, and it's the same rinse, repeat, wash again, and again. You have to get off. You got to get off of this hamster wheel. You got to take it. The only hope, and this makes me very nervous to say this, is that the Democratic Party. That's the only hope for America, because there's no Republican Party. There is a ethno-white nationalist grievance party that, for reasons we can imagine, has a certain loyalty to the Russian Federation. That is the idea. Their idea is, in order for me to win, you have to lose. That is so destructive. Or you can't believe anything. Once you go there, you're done. You're done.
What do you think? A lot of people speculate that Trump may not leave even if he's elected out. Do you have thoughts about that?
Look, what he's going to do, if he's beat, he's going to go around and he's going to tell his people it was stolen from them and everything. He doesn't. The Constitution is an impediment to him. He doesn't even understand it.
So do you think he's not going to leave?
He's going to try something. I think the generals hate him so much, they would like nothing better than an order to go in there and take him out. I think you would have, the Pentagon would be lining up so deep.
Now, is this going to be an airstrike, or are they just going to troops on the ground?
I think it'll be sort of the middle of the night and a switchblade in the throat. None of that.
Oh, the Secret Service is going to follow you back to Louisiana now.
But I do think that the senior military officials, obviously the senior diplomatic corps, I think they would gladly perform an extraction mission.
Out of all the people that are currently running for president, the Democratic side, who do you think gives the Democrats the best chance in an election?
Okay, I get this question all the time. Right. In May.
It doesn't make it a stupid question,
It does not make it.
It can make it a very relevant question.
No.
Like Kareem is asked how
let me-
tall you are all the time.
In May of 1992, Johnny Apple wrote a story in the New York Times that Democrats had concluded that Bill Clinton couldn't win. We were running third behind Bush and Ross Perot in the polls. And we were going to New York, and there was utter panic. When we left New York, we were 10 points ahead. This is a moving ball. All right, this is like you turn on the TV, and it's the first inning, and somebody is up 1-0. Well, the ball's it's gonna change. And so when somebody's gonna start winning, and they're going to be, and you'll see them on TV, and I want to thank all the great people. We have momentum. We came together, and we're moving on to South Carolina or wherever we're going, and it's great. The other person's up there, I want to thank Miss Margie, who's at the headquarters all the time. Thank you so much. You answered the phone. We came up a little short tonight, but the mission will continue. We'll roll out of town. It's just, you look entirely different. When you beat, you look bad. When you win, you look good. And then the idea, if you have political skill, you start winning, then you leverage it. And people say, I'll take another look at that person. But whatever the condition of American politics is today, is it 31 January, I guess, ain't going to be the condition of American politics. I said, May, and we had a July convention. The conventional wisdom was we were going to run third. In fact, Charlie Cook stopped me on the street, and you could actually fund a presidential campaign. It's still a law today. People don't realize that. And in order to qualify for it, you had a threshold of like 25. And he said, maybe Clinton won't get to 25. That was a thought among knowledgeable elites at the time.
Do you think somebody is going to get involved? Michelle Obama, Oprah, whomever, someone of that nature?
Probably.
Probably.
But yeah, because if they think, if Michelle Obama thinks that by her doing something would reduce the chances of Trump being reelected, I think Michelle Obama would do that. I don't know that. I've met her 2 times.
Who do you think would do the best in a debate with Trump?
Warren.
Yeah. Right.
Now, if Mitch Landrieu would have run, this thing would be, we could be packing this puppy up and going home after Nevada. But that didn't happen.
James,
did you drink out of this?
I did. I think yours is down. Yeah, you don't want to get dumber.
I put the ladle in the same vat here.
Can we talk about you a little bit? Your upbringing and
James Carville, talking about James Carville? Well,
yeah, I mean,
how strange.
Well, I think we're here to talk politics, but I'm also interested in interviewing you and knowing about your early years and, how you grew up and what got you into politics. I don't know how anyone gets into politics. Is that something you wanted to do when you were in high school?
Yeah.
You did?
Look, I grew up in rural South Louisiana. We were so far in the sticks, we had to pipe sunshine in. And the defining political character of my youth was a man named Earl Long. If you don't read any book in your life, read The Earl of Louisiana by A.J. Liebling. It will show you what a real writer and a real journalist can do.
A.J. Liebling wrote The Sweet Science?
Yes.
The boxing book?
Yeah.
Same guy.
He was the New Yorker. He was the prime New Yorker guy. So William Shawn, the governor of Louisiana, had checked himself out of a mental institution. And he said, go down there and cover the crazy governor. So Liebling's in the state for 10 minutes, calls Shawn back, and he says, shit, the governor's the only sane person in the state. Everybody else is crazy. Which is probably true.
So you're into politics as a young person living in the sticks. And you envision a career or life in politics.
I never envisioned this.
No, nobody did.
What happened, just a boll weevil. I was working in Baton Rouge, and I literally was working in the mayor's office. I said, well, I'm going crazy, going to jail, or going out of town. And I wisely picked option 3.
So you went from high school, you went to college, you
flunked out, I went in the Marine Corps, I went back, I taught school, I went to night school, then I went to law school. I practiced law for 2 years and was terrible at it, bored by it. And somebody in the law firm started putting me to work on campaigns for politicians at the, So I started doing that. And I got a job running a campaign in Virginia, which I promptly lost. Then I went to Texas, got 42%. And in 1986, as a guy had run for governor of Pennsylvania 3 times and lost 3 times, he called me and asked me to come up. And they're like, what? I'm the ugliest girl and he's the ugliest guy, and it's the night before the prom, so we ain't got any choice.
You would make an ugly girl, yeah.
Yeah, and the rest is history. But that's how it started. In the thing that drives me the craziest, I'm really on a late life mission, and that is to knock the goddamn cultural smugness out of the Democratic Party. The idea that you are allowed to talk down to certain people, all right, is insane. This, and you see it everywhere. I think that Ricky Gervais said thing, John Maxwell, I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
And you go and you meet with people, and just because you can make a lot of money in a hedge fund or making a movie doesn't mean that you're anointed with some political savviness.
Yeah, it's a smugness, and it's not only as somebody who comes from the blue collar world and not from academia, sort of looking down on people who work with their hands.
I'm trying to find something, not being rude.
It's all right.
Okay.
He's on a site called
this really got me started. There's a.
Yeah. Well, I'll buy.
I just want to read this because I want to get back. I just want to show you what it is. An editorial writer for the New York Times sent this tweet out. Obviously, LSU's professional football players weren't there for classes. Now, first of all, think of the smugness and the potential racism in this. Do you know what the LSU demographic of the LSU football team is? So you're really going to say that they're criminals and not reporting tax, whatever. By the way, we're in the top 25 of graduation rate. And I'm throwing Northwestern and Stanford and Duke and Vanderbilt.
I'm sorry, I don't know a lot about the demographic. Mostly Jewish?
I don't care. Doesn't matter.
Well, I'm
His
from
name is
North Hollywood. I don't.
Do the Warren Sanders free public college proposals include LSU, or would it apply only to actual schools? And that guy thinks he's smart. All right? He thinks he's smart. So, I mean, and that's what people hear. So people come up to me, Jay, look at the New York Times, Jay, I told you they're all assholes. I said, well, you're right, they're all assholes, but they don't make Trump right. And you compound that a gazillion times. And this guy actually goes to some place and eats a, Indonesian bowl, or whatever they do, and thinks that he's like really, really smart. Adam Carolla is doing a history in the New York Times. I said, Adam, would Turner Catledge be in the top 3 most influential people in the history of the New York Times? He said, obviously. You know where Turner Catledge went to college? Mississippi State. But the idea that you can only be smart if you are as credentialed as somebody else is stupid. And it's stupid to pretend that. Who in politics, cultural arrogance and smugness hurts us as much as anything else. And people agree with us. If people agree with us, they want to tax rich people. They don't want to cut Social Security and Medicare. They don't want to get rid of Roe. They're getting scared of climate. They don't like, they want to have competent diplomats. We win every argument. We just don't win the election. Well, screw the argument. Let's win the election.
What is that necessity, that smugness? Like, where does that, why is that cultivated? Where's it come from?
Because people, all right, Adam, this is a basic fact of American politics. There are 3,100 counties. I know it's 3,122 or something, but it's 3,100. Let's just convert it.
I didn't want to correct you, but go on.
There's a thing called a supermajority county, and that is a place that one party wins by 75-25 or more, wins by 50. In 1992, there were 96 supermajority counties in the United States. In 2016, there were 1,300. So what happens is, Mr. Applebaum doesn't know anybody that doesn't think like him. If you live in Idaho, you live in rural Louisiana, you don't know anybody that my sister says, how can everybody you grow up with be a Republican and you not? Because everything that you think is totally validated by everybody around you. And we have geographically sorted in ways that are, you can't imagine. So if you live in Los Angeles, you can't imagine anybody not like you.
My sister, is a story I've told a couple of times, but my sister in the 80s worked in Silver Lake on Hyperion Boulevard at a hair salon, and the owners were gay and all the clients were gay. She was in the middle of this very gay neighborhood, and she was in her early 20s. And I said to her once, I said, what percentage of American men do you think are gay? And she said, I don't know, 90%. I said, well, there's me and Grandpa, so you got to back, or is that the 10%? You're talking about, but when you're in I realize she's not a dumb person. She lives in a world where it's 100% gay, and she just took out 10% for the guy who drives the bus through the gay neighborhood.
Therein, you have your finger on the problem. It's all self-validation. People, do you know why people don't watch cable TV for information? They watch it for validation. I knew I was right. Well, you're not going to get any information.
To that end, don't you think it'd be a good idea to spread it around a little? Like, I am an atheist, and I used to listen to a lot of religious shows on the radio just to hear what they were talking about, just to find out what the other side, so to speak, was speaking of. Do you feel like it's a good idea for people to watch, CNN, Fox, and MSNBC, or is there some middle place we could get our information?
Well, first of all, I think the stuff on CNN or the New York Times is, for the most part, reliable. Right? But I understand people skeptical of it. I just don't watch a lot of cable TV, so I watch it enough. I'll watch Fox to see what the talking points are. But again, everything, people seek information to validate an existing thought.
Right.
And as long as you do that, you're missing out on the game.
Well, to circle back to Andrew Yang and universal income, my first thought was no way, and then he talked about tech and information, stealing your whatever, and I thought, oh, okay, now that's an idea. Yeah. So I want to learn, I want to be flexible, I'd like my mind to be changed. I guess if you go in sort of locked into a posture where you don't want your mind changed, well, what is learning? Learning is essentially getting your mind changed.
when John Maynard Keynes says, when the facts change, I change my mind. What do you do? And people say, man, that guy's consistent. He's consistently crazy.
So you go to Pennsylvania for a guy who's lost 3 in a row.
Three-time loss from Holy Cross.
And you have no W's on your track record. Oh, just let me circle back because I was curious on your take. I think in the LSU win, was it the LSU win where they were smoking cigars and one of the reporters called, like, dropped a dime on the guys? I hate that part of society, by the way.
Yeah,
like,
me too.
there was a reporter, she complained that she was getting secondhand smoke from the professionals at LSU. Like, that must drive you insane.
Does.
Okay.
They're football players. They just completed the greatest season in the 150-year history of college football. Smoke a goddamn cigar, for Christ's sake. I mean, some of this stuff is just too stupid for words.
Right. So you're in Pennsylvania. You've lost all your elections. He's lost 3 in a row. How do you turn it around?
Well, I like to think I learned something in defeat. Right? That's the narrative that you would, you'd want to tell the commensurate thing. I was down, I was out, I viewed my life, I saw I was doing wrong, and then I started doing. I think I just got better at it and kind of understood it, and I think I've worked in 22 different countries. I think as I went up, I like to think I learned more. And then it's like anything else. Once you start winning, then you get good campaigns. It's kind of hard to, if you're a jockey and you win, you get better horses. And the guy that loses doesn't get good horses.
LSU's probably going to have a good recruiting class.
Yeah, of course. I'll give you a little secret in life. James Carville's people like winners.
Hold on, I got to write that down.
You get that, put that in the dope sheet.
What do you think most people don't know about Bill Clinton that you do know, or what would surprise us if we? I don't mean the dirt. I just mean, like, what would surprise us if we met him?
Ever smart that you think Bill Clinton is, you have no friggin' idea. He is so much smarter than you think, and it's so much more engaging than you think. So I was doing some work in Buenos Aires for the finance minister, a man named Domingo Cavallo. So we ended up having a mate or whatever they drank down there in the Sheraton Hotel, and the guy goes by and he says, Senor Rodriguez, come over here. And he says, this is Mr. Carville. This is the man elected Bill Clinton. But so he said, I'll tell you something about Bill Clinton. Gospel perfect. And he said, 3 years ago, we came here and, biggest hotel, we accommodated him. He said, about 2 years later, the OAS had a meeting in Santiago, and the Sheraton people called me and asked me to go over there and give him a hand because they had all these heads of state. He gets out the car, and he's walking, he looks at me, he says, I thought you were in Buenos Aires, in Santiago now? Hey, remember the guy 2 years later?
Right.
From the hotel. And, the one thing you can say about Bill Clinton, he was smarter than you are. He never gave off that odor at all. He never, Reagan never gave off the odor that he was better than anybody. Obama didn't do that. This is something that's so insane, and it's so counterproductive.
We're talking about Trump now. Yeah.
Trump does something. Once you go to race, you can do what you want. A lot of people will agree with you. And he just went there. Everybody else would kind of talk around it.
Well, I know what Trump does because I kind of experienced it firsthand, which is, and it's the opposite. Obviously, we're talking about President Obama and Clinton and Reagan, very, very different. But I want to know if this brings up some thoughts, and then I have a question, which is, are we ever going to be able to run a candidate that's not a sort of reality star anymore? But I don't mean of a TV show, but I mean, I think Hillary lacked a sort of sincerity, maybe, that Trump, even if you hate him, appeared that way. I did a show called The Marriage Ref, which was a Seinfeld-produced TV show, and the guests were me and Trump and Gloria Stefan from the Miami Sound Machine. And we were the three panelists on this show that's defunct now. But anyway, we were sort of backstage, and Trump came up to me and he slapped me on the back and he said, "This is going to be the highest rated episode they've ever had." And I thought, why? You know, I'm nobody, you're nobody, she's nobody, who cares about us? Why would it be? And he said, "I guarantee it." And I started to buy in. I thought, well, maybe we will be number one. Maybe we will make the Marriage Ref great again. And then when we were done with the show, he slapped me on the back and he said, "You check those ratings tomorrow. I guarantee we won the night." And he stormed out, and momentarily I felt good. I felt confident. I felt like I was back. And I never checked the ratings. I'm sure we were 28th in the demo. But he did it. He made me feel like something. And I think he did that in the election. I think that's what he did.
First of all, there's this myth of Trump's political powers, okay? Let's go through the numbers. What did he get in 2016? 46.1. What did his party get in 2018? 44.8. What is his constant polling average approval on 538? 42.5, right? He couldn't carry a Republican across in Kentucky or Louisiana. This is a race, in my opinion, that he cannot talk his way back into re-election. The Democrats can talk their way out of it. And if you want to get scared of what you should be, look at the British Labour Party. Boris Johnson was a clown. They still have no idea what they're doing. And he had one of the hugest elections in the history of British politics. All right? This country is in deep trouble. Deep trouble. And we should win this election. We got a pool of 57% of the voters that we can draw from. We should win this. We should win the Senate. But as long as we're acting like, to some extent we're acting now, we're not going to do it. And somebody needs to go and slap the arrogance out of some of these people and get people with the political skill. When somebody looks at you, they say, you know, I think that guy kind of cares what happens in my life. And if once you achieve that, you've done something.
Boris Johnson's a big guy with crazy hair, right?
Right. He's also the Prime
Trump
Minister.
is a big guy with crazy hair. Do you see what I'm...
No?
No? Okay. I didn't know. No. I'm not a savvy
I'm just
political
saying,
analyst.
the reason that Boris Johnson did what he did was because Jeremy Corbyn.
Do you think, James, would you...
If David Miliband would have been the Labour Party's choice, they would have won. People are not going to vote for a communist.
Subject. So, speaking to Democrats, I feel like too much talk about rich, evil, whitey, and too much talk about the environment, and maybe not enough talk about middle-class stuff.
Well, first of all, okay, let's unpack this. You can't have too much talk about the environment. We're in too much trouble. I live at the southern terminus of the Mississippi River, which drains 63% of the lower 48. It's going very poorly. Very poorly. All right. So,
but do you think there can be too much talk to get elected?
Again, but what I see coming out of Democrats is goofiness. So they want to get rid of nuclear energy? Shit, we ought to be figuring out how to build more of these plants.
Right.
If you want to talk about, and I'm all for a carbon tax. So now they want to end fracking. Of course, you're going to lose the election there because you lose Pennsylvania. And plus, the frackers ran the coal people out of business. The Sierra Club didn't. All right? In another 10 years, you're not going to need it. And you got to talk about engineering. If you're going to be serious about it, We're not, if you took all the carbon out now, we're still in trouble. And as are other people. The biggest problem the Earth faces, security problem, is the displacement of people that live in deltaic areas as a result of rising sea level and subsidence. You can't overstate it. It's bad. So now you can talk about it. What the Democrats or what people do is they get plastic straws. Okay, I don't care if straw is plastic or paper straw or whatever. I use a straw. My generation in the South, if you didn't.
I'm going to have another draw off my box of water because I'm a hero. Well, this is kind of what I'm talking about. It's all environmental talk, and then the second you bring up nuclear power plants, they say no. So if most of the smart minds I've met on this subject, most of the scientists believe that is a viable answer to help stem the problem of burning too many fossil fuels or coal or fracking or what have you, even natural gas, then why isn't nuclear power on the table?
Because to a certain group
Got the
of
word
people,
nuclear in it?
Yeah, it's cultural. Understand, it's not the policy, it's cultural. Why do we win all of these arguments and yet we have no power? Because culturally we come across a certain way. I ain't like so into, and it's how you frame an issue. There's a way to talk about environmental issues and climate issues that relate to people, and you can talk about how you, and by the way, when you change energy sources, you're going to have way more winners than losers. Way more. But there's, this fusion stuff, I don't quite understand, but you should take a look into it. This stuff might be real possibility. We just got to survive for 10 years.
So,
but
yeah.
It's bad. I'll tell you.
Final question. Bernie is at the top of the polls right now. Is that correct?
Everything I see is Bernie mania, yeah.
And do you feel like it's going to, I know a lot can change. I know we talked about this. Can Bernie beat Trump?
Look, again, as I pointed out, he's already looking into executive orders. He knows maybe he can beat Trump. Maybe he can get a scratch out of electoral college win some kind of way. If you don't have the Senate, it's all, understand, the Democratic Party has to decide if it's a smug cult or it wants to be a majoritarian political party. And that's a decision that Democratic voters are going to have to make. And you need to listen to these stupid urbanists that are putting all this insane crap out there. That's what I think.
Last question. The impeachment, good or bad? What would you like? If you had a magic wand right now.
I think impeachment is good politics for the Democrats. And I'll tell you one of the reasons why. The ball keeps moving. The body of knowledge about this is just because they vote to acquit him, what do you think is coming down the pike? All right? Then you got John Bolton's interviews and somebody, I guarantee you, they're sitting there and they're just going to drop more on him. And you're sitting there with the vote, and I don't, again, it didn't cost us Kentucky or Louisiana. How can you make an argument that it's going to hurt you if you can win in those two places with impeachment? The myth of Trump's power, the problem is, this is the example that I give. This is probably kind of crude, but I tell young guys, a half hour into the date, she knows, okay? All you can do is talk your way out of it, okay? If your butt is big in that dress, or you got something stuck between your teeth, or your nose looks funny, you're done. Just shut up.
A good note to go out on. James Carville, everybody.